What is up, everybody? Hope you guys have been doing well. It has been an exciting day in the cryptocurrency market. Pretty much nothing happening, right? But those are exciting moments and exciting times. In this video, I'm going to be sharing a couple of reasons why I've been pretty much converting all of my cash into Bitcoin during this entire dip the past few weeks and months. Some may call me crazy, but at the end of this video, you'll understand why. And again, I am not a financial advisor, nor this is financial advice, so make sure you guys do your own research and due diligence. But other than that, guys, I'm really excited to dive into today's video. Let's begin. So what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today is pretty much one giant swing trading strategy. You guys might have heard of day trading. That is when you buy and sell your stock or shares the same day. But swing trading is when you buy and you hold that for a couple of days, couple of weeks, months, depending on your strategy. For example, this is Lordstown Motor Corp. When it was hovering around the $10 range, I was loading up, I was dollar cost averaging, just buying when it was completely flat, right? And then when it took off, I sold it at the top at $30. And then when it dipped back again, I bought back in and I did sell around the kind of $20 range, which was a bit early, and it went higher. The thing about swing trading is that you never really know where the top and the bottom is, but you do have to have a general risk to reward strategy when you go into swing trading. This is Canoe, another EV company. When it was hovering around the $10 range, I was buying up, loading up. And then when it took off, I did sell around the $20 range. And then I bought back at the dip, and I did sell a little earlier because I was trying to be a little bit more conservative. But you get the idea. You could buy the lows, sell the highs, buy the lows and sell the highs, versus just holding all throughout. Tesla was another great one. I remember during this time, during March, Tesla dipped really, really hard. Bought the dip and I got to sell it around the $700 range. Of course, I could hold something like Tesla long term, but the idea of swing trading is to buy low, sell high, and lock in profits. Now, if you do swing trade and hold it less than a year, you do have to pay short-term capital gains, which is a little higher than long-term capital gains. But personally, it should not matter too much because to give you some perspective, profit is still profit at the end of the day. It is better for you to come out of your trade as a winner and pay taxes versus holding a losing trade and selling at a loss. So with that said, let me share my strategy with Bitcoin and why I've been pretty much loading up, buying the dip, holding. Right now, Bitcoin is hovering around $32.7 thousand. My belief is that we hit a local top, meaning it is not a market cycle top, but we are in a short-term correction, consolidation, and theoretically we are in a bear market, but I think it's going to be a mini bear market within a longer-term bull market. Now, when I look at this chart, it looks beautiful, right? Like from a risk to reward standpoint, the reward, the upside, is much greater than the downside. And let me explain what I mean by that. So from the current Bitcoin price, if we go back to the previous all-time high, that is about a 97% increase. We'll just round that up and say that's a 100% increase. If we were to dip from the current price all the way to, I think some people are calling for around a $25,000 Bitcoin, that is about a 25% decrease. And I know even some cases people are calling for a $20,000 or even a $15,000 Bitcoin. In my personal opinion, I don't think that's going to happen, and I'll share why. But just like how people cannot time the top, people cannot time the bottom. And so when usually a lot of people expect us to go lower, it usually doesn't happen. And vice versa, when we were hovering around here, everyone was calling for an $80,000 Bitcoin, and it never happened. Now, regardless of if we drop to $26,000 or even $25,000, that is completely fine because why? The reward, which is 100% gain, is much greater than the risk of even going down 25%. Now, even if we dip that low, that is another great buying opportunity and people are going to buy that up. But all I know is that as long as I load up around this range over here, when we go back to the previous all-time high, that is going to be another 100% gain. In other words, you put $1,000 in, you get $1,000 out. You put $10,000 in, you get $10,000 out. Now, there's no guarantee, but my belief is that we are going to go back up to the previous all-time high and continue higher. When? I don't know. But right now, as I look at this, I'm looking at a 5-to-1, 4-to-1 risk to reward ratio, and the reward is just much greater than the risk. Now, one thing that most people need to understand is that buying Bitcoin right now when it is dipping, or if we even go dipper, I can't believe I just said that, but even if we go lower, you are lowering your risk of buying now or even when it dips versus when Bitcoin was hovering around the $40,000 to $50,000 to $60,000 range. range. Like when we were in this range, right? Every time we dipped, I tried to dollar cost average in, but I wasn't buying as heavy. I was just sticking to my strategy, dollar cost averaging into the market. But as we're down here, I'm loading up much more aggressively. Now, historically, you could have been accumulating and buying all of these dip ranges and you would have been in profit. In that same way, I do believe that we are going to consolidate and continue higher, and buying in these ranges is, to me, is an amazing deal. Now, you might be wondering how I'm so confident that Bitcoin will not break below 20K. And the truth is, I don't know, right? It's very possible that we could. But based on previous data, we know that once we broke above previous all-time high, we have never seen those levels again. Looking at Bitcoin's 10-year price history, once we broke above the previous all-time high, we had a massive pump. Then we had a multi-year bear market. And then once we broke above the previous all-time high, which is around this level, we had a massive run-up. And then we had another multi-year bear market. But even during this market, during the March low and when Bitcoin capitulated, Bitcoin still never hit the previous all-time high, which is at these levels. And then we continued higher. Once we broke above 20K, which was the previous all-time high, we had another run-up. But I believe that we are not going to touch 20K again. Why? Because every time we broke above the previous all-time high, we continued higher. What I think is happening right now is similar to this, where we do have a run-up, a consolidation, mini bear market, and we'll have another leg run-up. And so for me, what I'm expecting is more sideways consolidation movement. Could we go a little lower? Absolutely, right? But I do think we will continue higher. Another thing I want to show you guys is using the Fibonacci retracement tool from the previous all-time high to the bear market low. And as you can see, when we broke above the previous all-time high, we back tested the 0.618 and then we continued higher, right? In that same way, from $20,000 all the way to the bear market low, which is around $3,000, we can see that we did break above the previous all-time high, and now we are back testing the 0.618. And I believe, just like how we continued higher over here, I do believe that we will continue higher over here. When it is only a matter of time, when we could probably see it anywhere between the next 6 to 12 months. As you guys know, I love the stock to flow model. And if you look down here, we have completely made, I think, pretty much an all-time low of how deviated we are from this chart. In conclusion, when I look at this, Bitcoin is undervalued at the moment. Although this model has been created in 2019, in terms of displaying the accuracy of Bitcoin's price movement and swing movement for the past 10 years, it is the most accurate chart that is out there. Now, all models work until they don't. And so we're going to find out in the next 6 months if this chart is truly accurate or not. And lastly, as I look at the crypto fear and greed index, you can see that there's extreme fear now, extreme fear yesterday, last week, and last month. And as we scroll down, you can see that we have never stayed down this low for this amount of time, that meaning there has been a ton of fear since the dip in May. Historically, anytime we came down to these ranges, we always had a recovery phase, right? A moment where people got a little bit more greedy. When we look at right now, there is a ton of fear in the market. And as we know from famous investor Warren Buffett, when others are greedy, that is when you should sell. When others are fearful, that is when we should be greedy. So for me, whether we dip lower or whether we hover around this range, I'm going to be converting most of my cash or all of my cash that I don't need for at least the next year into Bitcoin. And so that way, when it goes back up, I will have doubled my money. And that is just a very long macro swing trading strategy. Now, of course, throughout this time, I'm making sure that I have enough money in the bank to pay rents, bills, food, and all of the utility, all the necessary things. And personally for myself, I don't like holding on to cash. And so for me, putting it all into Bitcoin is just a wonderful strategy, wonderful idea for me, right? Again, people might call me crazy, but if I ever needed or wanted to spend my Bitcoin, I can always convert my Bitcoin into cash and load up my Crypto.com Visa card where I could spend it. There have been many times where I would buy the dip and then next week, the market would be up around 10%. I would load up my card, buy dinner, buy food, buy whatever I need to buy. Anytime I took that approach where I would take profits, load up my Visa card and spend it, it was only beneficial to me because I would save around 13% on my purchase, right? 10% increase from Bitcoin, plus I would get 3% cash back every time I spend my Crypto.com Visa card. So essentially, I was able to increase my purchasing power through Bitcoin. If the market is down, that is totally fine because that is when I would use my cash. And that is why when you buy the dips, you are lowering your risk into the market versus buying on green days. Because when you buy on green days, the next day is most likely to be a red day. When you buy on red days, the next few hours or days, it might be green. Now with swing trading, you always want to make sure that you have a strategy going into this, right? And so say we are in a multi multi-bear market where we stay under for like a year to 2 years, right? Well, that is okay because I don't mind investing and holding onto Bitcoin long term because I can hold it on crypto.com, BlockFi, or Celsius, earn interest on my Bitcoin, accumulate long term, buy the dips, and it's one of those assets where it will, yes, it will continue higher over time. Time is on our side. Now, when we go back to the previous all-time high, will I be selling? Yes, right? Because that is a part of my strategy. I want to be locking in some of my profits, but I also have a holding portfolio where I will hold and exit out as we continue higher. When? Well, nobody really knows, but the idea is to dollar cost average out. I'll do my best to let you guys know when I exit the market, but if you guys want to know more real-time updates on when I buy and sell, definitely check out our Patreon team. Throughout the past month, I've been sharing all my buy updates and the market updates and just my opinions and thoughts, how much I buy and why I'm buying them. Our group is growing, and everybody that has joined definitely has built a different mindset during their time in the team. The best time to be proactive and accumulating and buying Bitcoin is pretty much when there's a ton of fear and there's the least amount of interest, right? A lot of people have lost a lot of interest in Bitcoin, but these are times where you have to be proactive and much more alert. Definitely check out the Patreon group linked down below. But other than that, guys, that will be it for this video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. If you guys have any specific strategies that you are implementing right now, let me know in the comment section. I'm very curious what you guys are doing right now. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Over. Good night, good morning, adios.